Flying Casuals brought to you by Patreon supporters Brent, Andy Dugan, David Bush, Rob Patsky, Jory Webb, Kelly Breckner, Nate Edison, and Wes Anderson. May the Force be with you.
You're listening to Flying Casual, a Star Wars podcast. Here's your host, Michael Canterbury.
Star Wars fam, welcome back to Flying Casual. This is our monthly special Casual Council hangout with our Patreon Jedi Knights and Jedi Masters here. Holly, I would say we have a few skilled masters here with us. The rest of our group, once again, out fighting in the galaxy.
Yeah, I think that we have a couple members out in the Outer Rim.
Oh, just doing lots of Outer Rim nonsense.
That's right.
Luke is one of them right now.
Yep. Andy is another.
Andy is another. Causing some ruckus out there in the Outer Rim, as usual. So hopefully those guys are staying safe, not dabbling too much in the dark. We still need them on the council.
That's
but
right.
We do have with us, first off, one of our newbies. He may be a youngling here on the council, but he still likes to bring the pain. It is our Jedi Knight, Mr. Rob. How's it going, Rob?
It's going great, Michael. How you doing? Oh yeah, holy.
Let's go.
Let's like the pain.
You may be mistaken if you think that is Macho Man Randy Savage back from the grave. It is not. That is our in-house. We'll call him Macho Man
Rob.
Jedi Macho Man Rob.
Jedi Macho Man
I
Rob.
like that. He has been knighted as such. How's it going, buddy? Anything new going on in the pain world?
Actually, it just came off of a podcast 15 minutes before we started this because I wanted to talk about Tecmo Super Bowl and this group. So it was just all about football gaming.
I'm pretty sure I was pretty decent at that back in the game. Back in the day. I mean, was that a Sega Dreamcast?
Whoa.
Sega Genesis
There
game.
you go.
I'm pretty sure maybe
Well, it was, yeah, they had it for the 16-bit systems, 8-bit systems, and I mean, it even went to the 32-bit systems.
Boy, I recall those days just going to the Boxcar Video in town and renting that bad boy. Sitting up in my attic room, Holly. It was 98 degrees playing video games.
That sounds terrible.
Good.
And we didn't care then.
What's
We didn't
that?
care. We would sit in
Oh, yeah.
98 degrees. No cares. If that happened now, we'd just be on the floor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My mom's like, I cannot believe you survived up there. I'm like, Sega's up there, Mom. That's why I'm playing it.
Priorities.
That's right. That's right. We also have another fellow gamer in the house, our good friend, Jedi Master, Nettie. Nate, how's it going, my friend?
It's going pretty well.
Let's go. That shirt looks sick, by the way, Nettie. I mean, that's a Patreon exclusive to our masters who recently got some packages. COVID had it delayed, Holly, but they actually got there. Finally got there. So it's a little special things in there for those guys. But Nettie joined the stream last night, Holly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was a lot of Battlefront.
Boy, a lot of Battlefront, a little bit of Racer.
I think I heard that we were inspiring to Nettie, and he had
Let's
to
go.
try to play Battlefront again.
Nettie, you're back in the Battlefront world. You picked up the sticks today. How did we perform? Maybe that's a personal question.
I think Holly put it best by saying he tried to get back into it. So it's been a long time since I've played, and I got all that COD and Destiny and all of that mixing in there, but I gave it my shot.
That's a tough thing to do. I also dabble in Destiny. I don't want to say that I kill it at Trials, but that was 4 years ago. But you go from Destiny to Battlefront, it's difficult. One I recall is much quicker than the other. I thought it was Destiny, but I could be wrong. But we'll have to get on there and knock out some noobs. We'll bring Rob in as well because I was actually afraid that Rob was the one killing us last night, Holly.
I think Michael said that. He was like, Rob, is that you?
I was pretty certain he was on there killing us.
I didn't log on. I've been on to Modern Warfare a lot recently. And then, I mean, I'm doing that. And then little Molly over there got me playing that Fortnite now. And now we're like winning matches in Fortnite. And I'm just like, God, man, it just never stops.
That's a fun game. And I'll be honest, Holly witnessed it. My first time I what did I get? Second place or something, Holly?
Yeah,
Killed it.
Yeah, that was pretty surprising.
Had no idea what I was doing. Found a lightsaber though and started murdering people, which was fantastic. But Nettie, you were on the stream last night, the first ever Flying Casual stream, and I want you to tell everyone listening your honest opinion. Decent stream or greatest stream you've ever seen in your life?
Those are your options.
There's the only two options.
Oh, I'll go for the greatest. It was
That's
pretty
what
fun. It was a good time.
That's what I'm
Definitely
talking about.
recommend it. If you can catch one, definitely do it.
Boy, I would say probably longest stream of all time.
Boy,
Not even just us, of like the world.
guys, it was impromptu. We were like, we are bored.
let's
It
go.
is Friday night. Let's
Tequila
play some
day.
games. National Tequila Day.
So we were
It's
drinking a lot of
fine.
rum. It happens, but yeah. So put us on there next time because that was. I mean, I couldn't see anything. My contacts were dried up. It was like 1 a.m. and I was like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just slashing people with sabers. The next time, we'll be a little more prepared, a little less intoxicated. I think the juices were flowing, and so that maybe contributed to some of the not so great gameplay there. But really
Sure.
appreciated Nettie stopping by and witnessing that slaughter. But we will bring him in on our group next time. And when Squadrons releases, this is going to unleash on fellow Star Wars fans. We're gonna feel really bad about it, but it's gonna be ugly.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
The only thing I gotta say, maybe we'll talk about Squadrons later, is like I said, the dynamics of the game, when they show you that one scene where it kind of does that loop, it makes me feel like we're gonna be able to use these flyers like cars, like in Mario Kart, where you used to do really cool skids and like hit your boys with bananas and shit.
Oh, absolutely. There might be some bananas packed on those TIE fighters. I don't know. Haven't done any gameplay yet.
Guys,
Haven't got to test it out.
serious question. Even bananas in Star Wars?
Oh, that's a personal question, Holly.
Wow.
For one. But I would say there's
No,
probably
just sausages.
just only sausages.
Full circle.
The only sausage-shaped thing in Star Wars is a sausage. So that's
Gotcha.
that. I mean, yeah.
The
nice
Giant
plug.
Noga's kind of sausage shaped.
It's true. Hey, folks, our last Jedi Master here on the council with us tonight is one of the greatest of the casual fam and long-time listener, long-time friend, long-time family member, Master Brett. Busy. I think he might be creating a concoction, a potion right now or something. Maybe studying the witchcraft here. I'm not sure what's going on, Holly.
He actually may have just gotten back from Dathomir,
Maybe.
found some ancient
Yeah.
texts, and copied them
His
down.
eyes are looking awfully green tonight. Brett, how is it going, my friend?
I'm doing really good. Just glad to be here talking some Star Wars with everybody.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's going to be good.
That's what I'm talking about. And folks, tonight, I mean, we're going to be pulling stuff out of, God knows, hidden
Whoa.
places in Star
Whoa.
Wars. I don't know. These guys are deep and sweaty in it. We're talking about the Force tonight. And Brent reached out to us and said, guys, let's talk about the Force. Let's talk about all aspects of it. And I'm like, I'm down, Ollie. But the Force to me sometimes is a feeling, you
That's
know?
right.
Sometimes you feel it, tingling around in places.
Definitely a phrasing.
Sometimes you feel it out there, in the universe on Dagobah. It's just, I kind of go to where the Force pulls me. But these guys are much better versed in the Force. I will say that. And I know they've done some research. I know Britt is doing research as we speak on the Force, maybe dabbling into some of that Night Sister witchcraft as we talked about, Holly.
Yeah, I think we'll have to check in throughout this cast to see how that's going.
That's right. Potions are smoke is just rising, and Brent is looking more and more concerned. He's like, guys, I'm pretty sure I just exorcised a demon of some sort.
We see some flames rising behind him.
Oh my God, Brent, please make it happen. I would just be floored.
I have enough alcohol here. I can get stuff burning.
Yeah.
Just
There
make
you
it
go.
up. Something's gonna happen. Absolutely.
That's what it's
Some potions.
about.
I am so down. And this is live here. We just got word from Jory too, another one of our Jedi Masters, says he'll be on in 5. Is he talking about 5 parsecs? Is he talking about 5 minutes, 5 hours? I don't know. Jory, be more specific. Love that guy. But he's gonna be
5
popping here
Hans.
soon.
Yeah.
5 what?
5 Hans.
5 Hans. Yeah, we
We
don't
had 5 Hans.
we don't know how he's measuring this out, but it's I'm assuming 5 minutes. So he's probably going to be dropping in here and then interrupting. So we'll check in with him here soon. But we're talking about the Force, Brent, and I know you're going to be driving a lot of this. I know you have ideas, and I don't know where we want to start this, but I'll just give a little bit of my kind of insight into the Force. And to me, I feel like after the Disney transition, before the Disney transition, I guess, which I should say, is we had a very complicated Force. And I mean, you had dozens and dozens of books that talked about the Force. You had all these different clans and followers and beliefs, and it was muddy. And it seemed like we kind of reset with the Disney acquisition, and maybe things, I mean, you could pull up Wikipedia yourself and type in the Force and go to the canon side of things. Only a few paragraphs. You go to the legend side, boy, you better be ready to do some reading because it's pretty extensive, and there's links to God knows where on the interweb. So I feel like they've simplified things a little bit, and I'm assuming that's purposeful, obviously, not to erase all the past, but to pick some of the best pieces of it and make the Force a little more universal. Is that how you're kind of looking at the future of Star Wars and the Force?
I think that's kind of where they've gone with it a little bit. They did clean up a lot of the Legends mess, which, I mean, the Legends was just a mess to begin with. It was great and all, but, you know, it was still messy. And yeah, going through looking at Wikipedia, just because, you know, it's pretty concise, and those guys if you put something up incorrect, they're going to pop it down. You know, so it's a good source of information. And then from there, they have links to everything else where they're getting it from. So if you want to, you know, read the source information, you can just follow the link to it and grab the book. So it's really good. But yeah, it does seem like they've cleaned it up quite a bit, but at the same time, with the things that they've done recently and not fully explaining what they've done, you know, they've just muddied it in different areas. So
that's a great point. That's a great point.
But I mean, going through, like, looking up some of the stuff, you know, I was able to find out some more of, you know, clarification on the Force dyad, and, you know, how that actually formed between Ben or Kylo and Rey, which was kind of interesting and stuff like that. So I'm sure we'll touch on that here in a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of those things that is really messy, right? We're just like, okay, they don't even understand it. Palpatine doesn't understand it. Who understands this? Luke, I don't think. Maybe he does. I don't know. Holly?
I mean, Ben had to learn about it from somewhere to say we are a dyad in the Force.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a great point. Where did Ben learn this from?
Ben learned it all from Luke.
From Luke?
From what I've gathered by looking through this stuff, yeah. Because once I went through and I was trying to get the timeline too, so we can go over some history, you know, because it's stuff, you know, if you haven't really dove into this, I'm sure there's listeners out there that, you know, are casual, and, you know, some are more hardcore. So, you know, this is probably try to make it educational. And I know from previous casual councils, you know, it's a subject we've kind of tiptoed around, you know, kind of getting into, but I think we all know it requires a little bit more preparation than just let's kind of willy-nilly it.
Absolutely.
And then, so I just went, hey, you know, this is a good time to let's do it. Let's get a little heads up and let's talk the Force. Because I mean, it's what makes Star Wars Star Wars. I mean, without the Force, Star Wars is just sci-fi and it's whatever. But, you know, you add in the space magic and that changes the entire movie.
It does, right? It gives you, as simple as it was in the original trilogy, it was open-ended enough to know that, or for like younglings watching who maybe, you know, were down on their luck, or I know Ez back in the day had a great story about, you know, having limitations in what he could do, and watching these movies was an escape for him. And I know that's the case for a lot of people. So that open-ended, like, you can do anything with the Force kind of was a great thing for, I think, young listeners and stuff. And I've inspired a generation, multiple generations. And so sometimes I kind of like that it's a little more open-ended like that. And I know there's a lot of people that don't and want things to be a little more specific, right? And wait, can he do this? This dude's only been practicing the Force a couple of years. Should he be able to bring down a TIE fighter? I don't know.
The Force works in mysterious ways, Michael.
It always does.
You know, and it calls to people differently.
It always does. Now, Rob, am I mistaken in that I know you like those fine details, some of that kind of Legends, I don't know, like hardcoreness. I don't know. What is it? What is it?
It's, for me, you got to include the video games as well, too, because when you start talking Force, like Brent was just saying, the books talk about a lot of other forces, and then the video games, you get to use a lot of different forces. Like, if you played the Super Nintendo version of it, where you got, like, you know, Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, Super Jedi, you got different forces, and you learn them along the way. And then you had like Star Wars Galaxies, where they made the Jedi like 3 different classes, like a defensive, an offensive one, like a healing one, kind of like World of Warcraft. So when you look at that, it's immense, and maybe canon might have mudded it down, like Brett was saying, but I think sometimes that's what limits it, to make it easier for other people.
Yeah.
But people like us and the casual, how can you not want more than that? So for me, like when you saw Starkiller, bring down that destroyer out of the sky, like you've never seen that. And then you go to the movies, which is very limited, and you've seen Palpatine just go boosh in the air.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's true. It can be confusing, and I can see how like someone really big in the games does see Starkiller bring down that Star Destroyer and be like, okay, that's amazing. I want more of that. I want more of this kind of old Republic-y kind of feel. And then, you see a more limited force and it's a little vague. And I can definitely see how that can ruffle some people's feathers. But, they do want to keep it. They want to please. And they're always going to in the game, right? Like even Cal, you kind of had to upgrade Cal throughout the game and you had to learn things, and even in Fallen Order. So you probably will always have that to a certain extent. But trying to, keep it open-ended for some people who maybe don't want to dig in as much and aren't going to question, like, how did Luke Skywalker reach out to everyone there on Crate and reveal himself? Like, what did he have to do? I want to kind of know how he learned it, but I kind of like that it's a little more open-ended. And I know our in-house encyclopedia, Luke Elder, would say, he was really just kind of tapping into the Force and opening himself up to it in that moment of need, and he was able to kind of do that. And it wasn't so much of like a book that he studied, likely, but so I totally get it, and it's the little blend of everything is nice. But Nettie is, how deep do you get into the Force, man? I mean, you're a big gamer too, but is that something you're looking for in Star Wars? Are you checking, Luke Skywalker's skill set against Revan and being like, if these two went to battle, like, Luke maybe is a little more defensive. I don't know. Revan seems a little more offensive. Like, is that something you're looking into?
Oh man.
I don't say I get that deep into it. I probably know most of the Force from the movies. Obviously, I do play a lot of the games, and you get it there. And it is kind of like a interesting balance, because when you do make a game with a Force wielder, they kind of make it like that upgrade, that level up system. And I know like Rian Johnson specifically like made a comment about like The Last Jedi that like that's not what the Force is. Like that's why he made Luke what he was. Yeah. So that's kind of a delicate balance, I think. Definitely an interesting way to look at things too, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Last Jedi, brought a lot of feathers for a lot of different reasons, but that absolutely being one. Expected something of Luke Skywalker to be, massively, powerful in the Force and to do all these epic Jedi Master things. I argue that he did, but you're right. Like that was a huge topic of conversation for a lot of Star Wars fans. So I totally agree with that. And folks, we just are now graced with the presence of our good friend, Jedi Master, Joy Webb. How you looking? Super tan still, my friend. Are you rested enough to discuss Star Wars after that softball game, or how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It was a long day. It was a really long day. I probably sweat out about 3 gallons of water today.
Yo.
So it was good. It was good though. And
crack open Pepsi. Get rested.
Oh, actually, it's straight water tonight, bud. Like, gotta stay hydrated. Got another game at 7:45 tomorrow morning. So,
why would they do themselves to this in this heat?
Right.
I admire.
I cracked into mine about 1 o'clock doing yard work. That was probably a mistake, but
for sure. Jory, we're talking about the Force tonight. We're all just kind of going around, just kind of easing into things, and it's going to get sweaty, I'm sure, here in a little bit. And we're going to Brent has a bit of a timeline for us to talk about these things. He's done some research. He's bringing the knowledge to us here in a little bit. But so we're just kind of talking about like you looking at the Force, like what do you when you talk about the Force, what do you expect from it? Are you looking at like a skill set level, like Luke Skywalker should be able to bring down, you know, the moons of Diego, or I don't even know if that's a Star Wars moon or not, but he should be able to bring it down with the flick of a wrist, for how powerful he is. Or you look at the Force as just more of a kind of open-ended discussion, maybe even a spiritual one at times, like I'd like to dig into a little bit. Like, what do you? I want to get an idea for all, like, where we all kind of stand, and it'll be interesting to see kind of where the discussion goes. So you, my friend Jory, when you look for the Force, what are you looking to get from it?
See, I think that my approach to everything Star Wars is just continuing to learn, you know, and so when I think of the Force, you know, originally I thought of, obviously, you know, just Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, you know, battling it out. And then once you start, you know, getting a little bit deeper into it, you start realizing that the Force, you know, the model of the Force that George Lucas brought to Star Wars is almost just a religion. Yeah. You know, and you know how he went about it, you know, and I don't know about a ton of different religions growing up Christian, but the thought of the Force, actually, you know, how it is everywhere, and it, you know, it binds us, it penetrates us, you know, it is all consuming. Honestly, growing up in, like I said, in a Christian house, like, God is not a, you know, in the Bible, God is not a big man in the sky. You know, he's everywhere. It's almost similar to that of the Force being, you know, everywhere. And so, you know, and I'm not going to go into a big religious thing, but as far as, like, you know, the way that George brought that to Star Wars, I think he got a little bit of that from Christianity. And I don't know if he, you know, sorry, there's a fly in here. I don't know if he drew from other religions as well, because I'm not a scholar in all this, but it seems like a lot of the things that Jedi do with the Force are kind of like miracles in the Bible as well. You know, especially once you get into the new canon, with bringing someone back to life, you know, things like that. You know, there's a lot of things that correlate, you know, with each other, having the light and the dark as well, you know, the dark side's almost being like a demonic thing. And, you know, I mean, there's a lot of correlations to the two. But, you know, as far as me and what I think of when I think of the Force, you know, I just like to continue to learn, you know, and see what, you know, people have to say about it. Honestly, I didn't do my homework as well as I probably should have on this topic, and I'm hoping that Brent can, you know, give us some good conversation. I can just chime in every now and then.
Dude, there's no worries about that. I think all of us, we all are just going to be tapping into what we know and why that's kind of why I want to give it, because we have conversations about Star Wars all the time, but we don't really kind of talk about, like, you know, we talk about the Force a little bit, but what exactly are you expecting from those conversations? And I don't want anyone to be bored by any means. And you know, everyone's going to have their own opinions, and we're all going to influence each other and respect that. And I like what you're saying about the you know, there being a religious aspect and a tone and a spiritual one, good versus evil. And even when you mentioned, you know, the afterlife, even I'm thinking the cosmic Force, and only the light side can do it. You can become one with the Force, and you can actually still, you know, live through the Force. So you're right. There's definitely some references there. I'm sure there's Christian references. There's some influence in Buddhism and other things. So it's I would love to know where George Lucas was at the time when he was, like, writing all of this out. And is he just capturing from, you know, a lot of different sources, or is he talking about more of a personal experience that he actually had a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away? Holly, I like to think that George actually lived that life.
Yeah, I was
and he's
wondering,
explaining it to us.
When you were like, I would love to know where George Lucas was. I was like, you mean like physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, yeah.
Spiritually?
I mean,
all of the above.
All the above. I mean, who knows what he was smoking when he wrote Star Wars? He could have been under the influence as well.
Was he doing shrooms?
He could have been doing something. I mean, I know, you know, I'm
like
not that
60s, early 70s. I mean,
Exactly. You got to remember the time period and what was going out there on the West Coast.
It's not outside of the realm of possibility.
You're absolutely right. Maybe George still taps into that now and again, and maybe he's like, you know what? I'll write the damn sequel trilogy. Give me them shrooms. But Holly, you and I think most of the time you just listen to me babble about the Force, and you keep your opinions to yourself a lot of the time.
Sure.
You're just like, just talk yourself to sleep so I can have some peace.
Keep drinking that rum.
When you think of the Force, what are you expecting from that conversation?
I like to believe that the Force kind of allows people to use it in ways that maybe are influenced by their personalities or their intentions.
Yeah.
Because I know earlier tonight when we were looking into some of the facts about the Force, we do know that there is a difference between what Force abilities and capabilities you have if you are a dark side user or if you're on the light side, and the Force doesn't allow you to do things like if you're on the dark side. We learned, like you said, you can't be a Force ghost. You can't come back. You can't have that preservation.
Yeah.
And I think after seeing all the different ways that people have used the Force throughout the TV shows, the books, the movies, I like the scope that's there. You have healing, you have that communication with animals or other like non-human beings. You have, the knowledge, you have the actual Force powers, lifting rocks, moving things, Force choking. There's the Force lightning on the dark side. I just think overall the large scope of it is kind of what I like to see. Especially, I know that Rob was talking about the video games earlier. Something that I really liked from playing Fallen Order was kind of getting to grow Cal's skills as a Force user. And I thought that was a really fun experience to have. And I really enjoyed that, and saying like, these are the things that I need on my journey, and the Force is going to help me get there, because it almost seems to like intuitively know that that's going to help me get to where I need to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, is the Force like a living kind of thing? There's some out there in the Star Wars universe, the actual like characters and clans that believe it's almost like, I guess you could say like a deity that like in a time of need, it can, it seeks you out and gives you what you need.
Because I think something that we kind of talked about on one of the casts that kind of sparked this conversation in the group was our conversation with you, me, and Luke talking about the Force and how different individuals in the galaxy learn how to use the Force. And to me, I feel like that's something that if you are Force sensitive, it comes to you as you need it. I guess if you take the Rise of Skywalker, for example, when Rey kind of pulls the ship that has Chewie in it down, that's not something that she learned. That's not something that she actively seeked on her own. Like, oh, I want to know how to use Force lightning. It just came to her.
Anger, fear, all coming out in her and just pulling that thing down with some Force lightning.
So all of that's very intriguing to me, how some people are able to use the Force in ways that they weren't actually trained in.
Yeah, that's definitely... It seems like that's maybe more of a new age thing too. And I want to digest so much of what you just said. And I don't know if I can, but when you talk about the dyad, you talk about the Force healing, you talk about Luke projecting himself across the galaxy. I mean, we think about those Star Killer moments that Rob brought up, bringing down a starship. We're like, Jesus, how do they do that? That's fantastical.
Yeah.
It's like, now that I think about it, the new canon events we've witnessed are much more fantastical than some dude bringing down a ship, right? It's like Luke projected himself.
Yeah.
Rey's healing people. Like, it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's not that different. Maybe it's just even more complex and complicated. And like Brent said earlier, a little muddy. We really don't know where this stuff comes from. So Brent, I know you're going to take us back in time. And I mean, we could be going back tens of thousands of years. I have no idea, but all I know is back in those days, we even talk like maybe even like older Republic days. I mean, you have people like the Sith Emperor, who's like literally draining planets of life to make himself stronger. Like, that's a pretty fantastical idea. Be interesting to see on film, but maybe keep that one in Legends. I feel like that's the ultimate power. Like, no one should have that. But so where are we going back in the Force time?
Well, I guess, I mean, I guess the general timeline, we might as well start there. We can kind of build from there or whatever, just to kind of get a basis. So I guess we'll start at the very beginning.
Let's go.
A very good place to start. So the song goes.
Yes.
So according to Wikipedia and the timeline, going back eons, and we'll go with before the Battle of Yavin. It's the common break in timelines for Star Wars or whatever. So eons ago, the midichlorians were birthed in the wellspring of life, somewhere in the deep core, where that was at. And then shortly after that, the father, son, and daughter were born. So
the ones, right?
Familiar.
For the Clone Wars, right?
Right. Yeah. Familiar with that legend, from, I think, it was introduced in Clone Wars, and I think reintroduced again during Rebels, and brought back up. So yeah, you got the father, the son, and the daughter were born. And then a little over 20,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, the Prime Jedi founded the Jedi Order on Ahch-To. So, as I guess going through the stuff, they were saying that the Force has been a known concept for about 25,000 years or so before, all the current events that were the Skywalker lineage.
Yeah.
So we got the Prime Jedi founded. Shortly after that, Ilum, the planet Ilum, was discovered, and it was locked down by the Jedi Order because it was found to be the source of kyber crystals. And just a little heads up, Ilum is actually the planet that became Starkiller Base.
That's
and that was where, and so all of its kyber crystals on there that were still left that weren't scraped by the Empire was what was used to power Starkiller Base.
How is that not the Resistance's first move, right? Like, okay, guys, we gotta go to Ilum. We gotta lock it down. Like, we cannot let anyone else get this power because this could be a huge detriment to what we're building. How was that not done?
Hindsight's 2020.
That's because Mon Mothma dismantled the military as soon as they defeated everyone on Jakku.
Yeah, who possibly could rise? The ultimate darkness has been destroyed, and we know that was with the Sith, maybe, and they came back. So Mon Mothma, totally wrong. Totally wrong.
Then we take a little jump up to about 10,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, and where we get the Temple of the Kyber was constructed on the planet Jedha, and the Sith are formed as a response to a rogue Jedi who thought that passion was the way to mastering the Force and not through balance. And he splintered off, and that started, he founded the Sith initially, and that happened, 10,000 years ago. So, and they had a brief battle, and all the Sith that followed him were exiled to Morrowind. So we kind of start that whole funness. About 5,000 years ago, we get the Sith capture Coruscant and build the Sith Temple there on Coruscant. And during that same period of time, the Great Temple was constructed on Yavin 4. So we got all these major things going on, and this was also the time frame of the Mandalorian Jedi Wars. It was about 5,000 years before everything. So there's a lot of stuff going on then. Move up about 1,000 years, the Jedi have retaken Coruscant, and they construct the temple on the side of the old Sith shrine. And interesting enough, it says that the Sith shrine that it was constructed upon continually seeps darkness upwards.
Yes.
And slowly weakened the Jedi over 1,000 years. So.
I was gonna bring that up. I mean, I'm sorry if I know the ultimate evil was in this place, and they have to know that it's still emanating from there, right? Like, I mean, even when Ezra goes to God, where was he on? Was he on Morabon or Malachor? Or where did
Malachor?
Yeah, so he goes there. That thing's been disabled for years. You can tell the thing is still living and breathing, and obviously it is when he throws the holocron in there, right? But it's like, why build your temple there? Nettie, are they nuts? I mean, what's is there logic behind building the Jedi Temple? Is it to seal it down? Is it to lock down the spirits so they can't escape? What is happening?
Yeah, it seems a little nuts to me offhand, but I guess if everything's about balance, maybe they did think put the light with the dark to balance it, but yeah, that seems kind of like a dumb move to me.
Dude, great point, man. And so here's another question I have. We'll get back to the timeline in a second. I mean, Palpatine makes his, what do you want to call it? The Emperor's throne, whatever you want to call it. He makes it, like, he takes the Jedi Temple and makes it his own, right? He makes the modifications. He knocks down statues. He raids the archives and stuff like that. Like, do you think he's kind of and maybe there's legend, or maybe there's canon or even legends information to tell us this, but like, is he kind of taking in that power? Like, you think he could be growing that way by like knowing the Sith Temple is there? I mean, is that
That's probably how he's able to keep himself hidden, you know, in the presence of the Jedi, because there's already that dark side presence there that they're, you know, inundated in. And so how are they going to pick up one little person walking around when there's this massive dark side presence?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Like a cloak.
That's it. Yes, it absolutely is, and it's just like almost like when the Sith rise again. It's almost like it's activated, and maybe the temple itself has a lot to do with them being shrouded in darkness. It very well could be. That's a fantastic point, Brent. That just kind of blew me away. I knew that detail, and I'm just like, how? Why would you put it there? You know, there's bad news there. Anyway,
they did, and I said I don't want to bring up in Legends. There's also a hidden Sith planet, a planet with full Sith that the Jedi never even knew about. If the Sith are so good at looking you in the eye and saying you don't even know I'm a Sith, then they hit a whole planet as well. Because they didn't know about that planet in the Fate series.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I love that there was a Sith Empire out in the plains out there. You know, the Jedi and the Mandos really have no idea what it is. I love that idea, and I think that's prime Disney Plus material, because the Sith, just like the constant not knowing when someone's gonna stab you in the back and everyone's out for themselves, that's television. That's a drama. They need to make something and bring that back. I'm down.
You like know why they're so paranoid all the time, and so like
I know, because they get so much hate.
Yeah.
They get so much hate for this stuff, and I get it. And it's gonna be messy too, but I think they are gonna take some of that good stuff and bring it back. Because I thought that was a fascinating time period. There was some really like the Sith Emperor and then sucking the life out of the planet to make it. I could deal without that. But the drama of the backstabbing, and even, you know, with Bane and the Rule 2, I'm down with that. I think that's a great story. And if they need to retell it in a different manner to maybe remove some of that kind of fantastical stuff, I'm down. But back to the timeline. So we've got these temples. We've got the Jedi are established, and the Sith have created their little boy band. The Rogue Jedi, and they have several conflicts, right?
Was that the name of their boy band, the Rogue Jedi?
That's a great band name.
I think that's pretty good.
That's a great band name.
Add it to the Star Wars boy band.
Yeah, or they call themselves Dark Hoods or something. I don't know. That sounds.
Make that our like clan name. We'll go over as Flying Casual, but we'll.
Oh, we've got a lot of squadron names to work on. It's gonna
Rogue Jedi.
It's gonna be. That's gonna be huge. We're gonna dominate. That's a whole nother conversation. But so that's where we're on the timeline now. Where are we going to next, Brent?
Let's see. Then there's a period of really nothing happens until about 1,000 years. At that point, Tar Vizsla, he creates the Darksaber. We have the Jedi Sith War, where the Jedi finally defeat them. Darth Bane establishes the Rule of Two, and they go into hiding. And that thus starts the 1,000 years of peace, according to Obi-Wan, that they're aware of. Then from there, then it kind of jumps. There's not really much that goes on because the Jedi just rule everything. But in 896 BBY, Yoda's born. And then in 797, about 100 years later, Yoda begins to train Jedi. So, you know, he's about 100 years old when he's physically training Jedi, which means he's already gone through training himself. So when you think about Mandalorian and the child, who's already 50 years old, he's got to be getting to the point where, you know, he needs to start learning stuff, or he's just going to go crazy on his own. And, you know, he's already ghost stroking people.
He would be a Rogue Jedi.
That would totally be.
Child.
Yeah, that's actually fantastic. I had no idea that Yoda started that around 100 years old. So, like you said, the child's halfway there. Like, are we going to jump in time at all? Could we see the child in his full-blown, you know, forceful self? Is that something we could possibly see? It'd probably have to be CGI, I would imagine.
I don't know. I see him become the Mandalore, and then he's the rightful heir of the Darksaber.
Oh boy! Holy
swords are bigger than him.
Disney.
Let's go! Let's go! I mean, so let's talk about the Force a little bit with the child, because here's something that bothers me, and I want to get you guys' opinion.
Let's go.
We're talking about the Force. We just brought up the child. When I saw, you know, everyone had a sense the child was going to do something cool, right? oh crap, holds this, I don't even remember what that thing called, the rhino, whatever it was, lifts the rhino with the hand. Obviously he's exhausted, but you're like, how the hell did he do that? Like, that's awesome, let's go. And then, you know, they're in their hideout, there's an explosion, uses this force shield, kind of pulls a Kanan Jarrus, you know, let's go, that's epic. But like, let's then talk about Rey, you know, a scavenger, years on Jakku, training, you know, fending for herself. You know, the Force kind of she has some Yoda or Baby Yoda moments, the child moments, right? She does a mind trick, like she does these things, and yet it seems like 50% of the Star Wars fandom hates her for it. It says, you didn't train, you didn't go through any of that. So I gotta ask you guys, what makes that so acceptable to have a creature who is literally called the Child, and he is, you know, without question able to do these things, and it's epic, and I love it too. But I also love that Rey, you know, in that moment needed the Force to do what needed to be done. Is that something you guys question at times? Am I the only one wondering why that seems to be the conversation?
I question that all the time.
All the time.
Well, I have a word for why. But
well, I think that word may be sexism, Holly,
yes.
But I totally agree with that a lot of the times. Jory, you're a level-headed man. Sometimes this stuff keeps me up at night, and it shouldn't, because this is a fantasy world, but it does sometimes, right? Like, why is that? I mean, we all love the Force. We love when people can lift things and do awesome things just on a whim. Like, so why does someone like Rey, you know, you hear, you know, big influencers like Star Wars Theory hate that? Like, you know, say that, you know, Gina Carano is awesome. She has 5 minutes of screen time and she's such a badass, but it's like Rey has 3 movies about her and does awesome things, and she's not, because she's not developed enough. What is that?
I mean, sexism definitely plays into it. People that a lot of people like to jump on a bandwagon. Yeah. And so they see that Mandalorian, you know, it kind of ties back into a little bit of what George Lucas was doing. It kind of ties back into that timeline too. So it, you know, props to Favreau and Filoni and all those guys doing, you know, really taking it back and drawing off of what George was doing. But like anything new in Star Wars that doesn't feel exactly like George. And anything that Disney does that doesn't feel exactly like George Lucas, they hate it. So I mean that's what it really comes down to. It could be the best story ever, you know, and just because it has a Disney feel, you know, people are gonna be, that's not my Star Wars. But no, I mean definitely you have a lot of great points, like, you know, the Child. Yeah, like you said, he's named the Child, even though he's 50 years old.
He's in a crib. He's in a crib.
Exactly.
Like, doing epic things. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and like you said, and Rey's, 19 at the time? And, you know, she's probably off screen, has probably done some of these things before. You know, and, you know, we don't have enough of Rey's adolescence and you know, more of her backstory, really just see things like that. You know, by the time she's 19, I mean, a lot of us at 19 already have jobs and, you know, are starting our lives and, you know, things like that. So what would be the difference, you know? And especially, you know, some of the children in the Jedi Order, granted they had training, you know, but they're going off to be Jedi Knights, you know, or you know, things like that. You know, Obi-Wan started his training late, you know, and he was still powerful, you know, became a master, things like that. So, like, it really just has a lot to do with, you know, what bandwagon can I jump on. I see plot holes, which, spoiler alert, George Lucas's movies had plot holes as well. Awesome. So, I mean, you know, it's just, you know, people see things and, you know, and they don't agree with them. And so, you know, they just decide that, you know, the new Disney way is not their Star Wars.
And not to mention, Palpatine was coming back, for Christ's sakes. It's like the Force needed to find a vessel and find it fast because darkness was coming and it was coming to dominate probably forever. So it's like, boy, we need someone who's really worthy of this. You're awesome. Let's do it. Like, it just bothers me sometimes.
Also, I think I love what Jory was saying because I think that all of us have self-taught something at some point.
Absolutely.
I do watercolors. I taught myself how to do that. I don't have any training. I still don't believe that. But I sell paintings.
You're too good for that.
And I just feel like Jory said, Rey's done a lot of stuff off screen. And I think that we see, Broom Boy, we see him throwing the broom around, using the Force, pulling it towards himself.
How many years did he train in the temple?
Right? He doesn't really use the Force. That's not possible.
Well, and need I remind you, one of Star Wars' favorite characters, Ezra Bridger, did the same crap episode 2 or 3 of Rebels.
Well, and that's the thing is, it's like if you inherently have this ability, you probably don't understand it, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to use it to your advantage. And so if Rey's running around Jakku being a scavenger, of course she's going to use this if she has it. She has to survive. And so in a way, she kind of is training because she's learning how to control these forces in one way or another. So I don't really think that it's so crazy that, oh my God, she can force pull something or she picked up a rock or, I just don't think it's that crazy.
See, Brent, it's like we're talking about it right now. It's just like, what do you look for in the Force? And to some people, it really bothers them, right? It's like, I don't know how she learned how to do this. Hence, she's a terrible character, and I just don't think she should have been the person to do this, or you should have gave her more backstory or whatever it is. So we're already having that conversation, and I would love to talk to more people about it that maybe don't necessarily kind of agree with that perspective. But I don't know why I went on that tangent. But Rob,
I gotta say, my whole problem is when you look at life as a person, the best thing in the world is love. And why did the Jedi want to stray from that? And I get the whole hurt thing and that whole thing, but the Sith embrace it. And we're seeing that in the current novel that we're reading for, the book club.
Yeah.
But to me, it's I get the whole monk thing, but I think that if you would allow a Jedi to love and to love the person and just do that and not call that bad.
Yeah.
Maybe they wouldn't have had moments like Dooku, or maybe I'm not going to say it would have helped Anakin, but at the same time, I want to flash back to, I think Rey was really Jaina Solo. That was the Jaina Solo aspirations straight up.
Yeah, you definitely, there's definitely some elements over there, and I can't remember what I was gonna say now when you were in the response to that. I totally blacked out, guys. Maybe I'm having a heat stroke.
It's all the rum.
It's all the rum. It's all the sawdust that's in my nasal cavities right now. But they're talking about passion. Yeah, if maybe the Jedi had allowed people like Luke Skywalker in Legends eventually allows, right? People to love. You can go get married, have a wife. It's cool, man. Just report back to the temple. Go, knock out the Yuuzhan Vong, that's cool. You can love, you can procreate, do what you need to do. That's another issue I have. If the Jedi, want more, there'd be more strong Force users, you're not allowing them to go out there and procreate.
Yeah. Well, inherently, those feelings and emotions are to be human, right? And so when you deny yourself of those, you kind of lose a part of yourself. And I kind of feel like you can go to that dark place, like Rob was saying. Yeah. If you don't allow your Jedi to have passion. We see Obi-Wan does it, Anakin does it, and maybe Rob might be onto something. Possibly if Anakin had been allowed to have that, relationship out in the open that he had with Padme, he may not have been so troubled by having this huge secret that he couldn't tell anybody about and he couldn't, display. And I feel like if you have all those secrets and you're holding it in, it kind of does damage you as a person. So I think it would make it easier for you to go to the dark side if you're already troubled. And, Palpatine could sense that, and there was a lot more going on, but I don't think it helped.
Brent, I think your dark side ways are having an influence on us all, and I think we're all starting to see maybe there's some good things there on the dark side. Maybe that passion's not so much a bad thing, and maybe we wouldn't have experienced the most powerful Sith Lord in all times if he could just love his woman openly, right, and not feel like that was something he had to hide from. Maybe he could go to Yoda and seek counsel and be like, "Yo, man, like Padme, she just really bothered me today," and Yoda says, "Sit down, talk about relationship. We will." Like maybe that's what they need, man. Maybe that dark side's where it's at.
A little therapy.
Yeah.
I mean,
it could be. I mean, I think the Jedi's reasoning behind it was more to not have your decisions influenced by attachments or whatever. Because I mean, we obviously saw what Anakin did. It's like there was no second thought going. It's like, oh, I can save Padme. Cool, let's do it. Come on, Palpatine, show me the way. There was no second thought whatsoever because he was attached to her, and as opposed to if they were just still friends and it's like, well, yeah, she might die, but there's still the betterment of the galaxy that there was that thought process, and and maybe Obi-Wan, if Satine wouldn't have been killed, he would have been more on Anakin's side because that would have still been there, but removing her from the equation made it easier for him to go back and be detached.
Absolutely.
And Brent is arguing for the light side here.
Brent's a little more balanced than I realized.
I'd say the dark side is good. It's just, it's seductive. It's easily corruptible, much like communism. On paper, it's one of probably the best forms of government, but it's so easy to corrupt, and it works like shit.
Very true. So that's another thing that you bring the politics into it with the Force, and it's
no politics in my Star Wars.
Not in Holly's Star Wars. That's for sure. And no Reylo.
No, Reylo is an absolute no-go. I will just leave
Holly,
this podcast.
That's the light and the dark coming together to create,
That's the passion that I don't want to see.
That's okay. That's okay. So I didn't mean to go on the tangent, but it was the passion talking about that and the light side and the dark side. Boy, that's that good and evil. That's why I come to the Force, guys. Like it's a battle, and we're always battling that, right? And sometimes you tap into it in the dark side in that time of need. But back to the timeline, because it got us off on a tangent. But I like that these moments in time spark conversation, and it's just, I mean, my Star Wars knowledge is limited, so I like that you're bringing this stuff up, and it keeps it going.
Yeah. So so after Yoda starts training, we got about a 500-year gap. There's not really much that goes on, and then we start to get into things that aren't totally Force related, but just a frame of reference points. 232 BBY. That's when the Great Disaster occurs, which is the High Republic era series of books that's coming out.
Yeah.
And then 200 years BBY. That's when Chewbacca is born.
Mm.
That's a big Force like moment in history. I agree.
Notable.
I agree.
So, and then at 102 BBY, we got the birth of Count Dooku. 84 BBY, Sheev Palpatine is born. So we're starting to get a little bit closer. 80 years, Qui-Gon Jinn is born. And 72 BBY, we got the birth of Mace Windu. And in 57, we get the birth of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Wow.
So you got a lot of the prominent characters are born in that 30-year span that's going on there.
Is it that moment of that High Republic time that we see? I mean, is it everything's so good? We're just like creating all these epic like Jedi that that actually are going to be blindsided,
like a Jedi baby boom.
You're absolutely right.
Thank you.
Jesus, Holly. Yeah, it's like post-World War II baby boom. That's exactly what it is. Everyone, they're building their single-family homes. They're making babies, purchasing a car, or maybe 2 cars. Maybe a couple hollow cars, or not hollow cars.
Sure.
Speeders, whatever you want to call them. But maybe it's just that good feel time. And I guess, do you guys expect it like those 200 years, things are going to be so good? Well, they can't be that good, right? Because we're going to have all these stories. Bad shit has to happen. It can't all be like, hey, like my cousin got a new Camry. Like it's not going to be like that. There has to be some darkness out there.
We just heard that Dooku and Palpatine were born in that time.
So let's talk about that time period just for a little bit, because so we know it's a time of peace, and that's probably where the Jedi get complacent, right? Like that, the Sith are gone. We don't really have anything to worry about. All we have to worry about is these Nihil folks who, they're coming at us in rafts, and it's kind of laughable. Who knows? They may be resistant to the Force. We don't know yet. Is this a time of complacency? And, maybe Mace and them aren't thinking very clearly because there's just this peace. Are we then worried about other Force users out there? Or are we worried about are we worried about the Nile having force powers, or I mean, Night Sisters, like all like different aspects of the Force come into play here in the High Republic? Rob,
what you just said there made me think of the Roman Empire. I don't know why.
So much history, man. Star Wars, you're absolutely right.
And the Nile are the barbarians. So
Yeah.
I mean, like how? So you're getting this whole point right here is like you said, this is like the baby boom. This is like the golden era. This is the Colosseum, and you know some of these novels we've been reading. There's definitely a lot of Colosseum things going on right now, and through all these novels, even in the EU and things. So it always seems like more than Luke fighting his way out, there's always been a man versus a man, or a man versus a giant monster, or that. And now it seems like during this time, exactly what you said is the Roman times, because then we get all to the betrayal and all the things that come through.
That's right. God, we just watched a great universe. What was that? It was Bad Omens and stuff. And maybe there was a lunar eclipse or something, during this time. I was like, oh,
that
shit,
was Bad
stuff's
News
going
Bears.
down.
And then we get the Nile coming in with their Trojan
horse.
God knows what.
Trojan, I don't know what
breaking
it could
into
be.
Look, they're just disrupting the Renaissance period for the Jedi. It has to happen.
That's what it is, a time of high art and peace.
Lots of Corellian brandy.
Brent, what kind of force are we going to experience? I mean, we're obviously going to get the Jedi, but like, should we be expecting more Force references here that the Jedi probably won't understand?
Are you talking about during the High Republic novels?
Yeah.
I honestly have no idea. I mean, other than that little excerpt that we've gotten where there's issues with the hyperspace lanes and, hyperspace isn't totally solid yet. I mean, apparently they figured this out. It makes it easier to get the booty calls going because we have all these Jedi born. So, I guess there's one benefit of everything.
I could be there in 12 parsecs, baby.
That's right. 12 parsecs. That's the new... how much time you got? I got 12 parsecs. Hop on board.
Don't worry, the Navicomputer's got it all. We can go in the back of the Falcon. God, that's a great point, man.
Come see my cape room.
Technology is just bad for the Republic.
It's like one of those memes that you see where it's like the girl's like, babe, come over. And he's like, I can't. I have too much to do. And she's like, but the hyperspace lanes are clear.
Have hyperspace
We'll be there in
now.
12 parsecs.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. So
Freezing.
Seriously, Nettie, what are you expecting? I know you're going to pick up these books. Like, are you expecting, an epic battle between the Jedi and their light side Force yielding and some dark side of the Force we don't understand? Are the Sith are the Sith then in that point using this to their advantage and be like, they're distracted by this. Let's, Plagueis is maybe doing some workings at that time.
Yeah, I definitely think we'll see something. Before I get into detail, like on the question, I do think it'd be really cool if we got like a High Republic novel that was set from like a Sith perspective, because we know they're hiding around in the Rule of Two.
Yeah.
So like obviously they're not going to be going and facing Jedi, at least not surviving Jedi. But I think that'd be a really interesting perspective in that time.
Absolutely.
But in terms more of your question, I think kind of like everything that Disney's been pushing with the Force so far has been that balance.
Yep.
And I find it hard that like the Force is just gonna be like, the light side can rule for 1,000 years without anything. So like I don't know if these Nile are gonna be dark side users or like kind of a substitute, and unless if two Sith can, counteract that balance with 1,000 Jedi, I don't know. I definitely think something has to rise up, and then the light will rebalance it until they get to that complacency state, and then the Sith can just come back, and so goes the series. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting to see where we're going to be going.
Yeah, and that maybe that complacency lies in the Jedi's perspective of the Force, right? Because they're just like, hey, you're either dark or you're light, and that's it. Like there is no balance, or wait, maybe there is a balance. That's the other thing. When we talk about balance from the perspective of a Jedi, they view the dark side as like corrupt use of the Force. So balance isn't there in their eyes, isn't using the light and the dark equally. It's discounting the dark side completely and embracing the light. That's balance from their perspective. And I think that's why some people get confused because when we talk about balance, it's always from the perspective of the Jedi.
Yeah.
It's never the dark side's just like, make me more powerful. Like that's just want. Thank
really
you.
Good.
It actually hurt really bad.
All
I think
that
I have
sawdust. I think
shards
I
of
saw
sawdust
come
in my
out
throat.
of your mouth and
I'm
hit the microphone.
bleeding out of my mouth right now.
That's a problem.
So
there it is.
it's Jesus. This rum is not doing the trick. But so maybe
I'm back.
So maybe it's that understanding of the Force, and we only hear balance is the light side, and rejecting the dark side. That is balance according to the Jedi. So they may not take the Nihil seriously. They may not even want to understand it because they can't. Because to them, it's, well, we destroyed the Sith and we're the good guys and that's all there is. We know there's bad people out there, but they're not a threat. They're not the Sith. That I kind of actually would like there to be. It's like the Night Sisters, right? The Night Sisters are some powerful ladies. Can I get an amen, Holly?
Amen.
I mean, and here's the thing about the Night Sisters: they only have allegiance to themselves.
They told Dooku that.
They told Dooku they ain't gonna fight with the Sith. They ain't gonna fight with the Jedi. They are doing their own thing and they are powerful. And people don't understand. At least the Jedi don't understand them really. They just think they're witches. And Anakin even is just like, aren't they crazy and this and that. And the Sith obviously don't understand it either. I mean, Palpatine himself was trying to learn Mother Townsend's powers. So I hope they do more of that. Yes. I think it builds the story of the Jedi being blindsided by the Sith, and it wasn't just the mastery of the Sith and eliminating their rule to just a couple people and keep ourselves secret. It's, well, there's also these guys and they're super powerful, and there's the Yuuzhan Vong or whoever, and you can't even sense them because they reject your Force. And I kind of hope we expand the universe into that and to make it more complicated, because I sometimes it upsets me that the Jedi were so blindsided. I'm like, how the hell did this happen? This dude's right in front of you. You didn't sense any of it? You guys have been around for thousands of years. What the hell?
Oh, you get the big head. You get so arrogant. You're the bomb. You're the Jedi. I
kind of like expanding those moments, and Star Wars does a great job of that. We talked about the Cavan Scott story, and I love that Nettie was talking about, when he imagines the Force, he imagines Vader and Obi-Wan going at it, and it seems so simple at the time. Got the light versus the dark, and then we read that story, it's like, oh, Obi-Wan was going through some stuff. Obi-Wan didn't understand the Force. Obi-Wan didn't understand the cosmic Force either, obviously.
It's almost like we have all this exploration of the Force before the High Republic, and then after the High Republic, it's almost like the Jedi got lazy and we just kind of lost all of that knowledge that we had. And then in that time, it was the perfect opportunity for the Sith to kind of build themselves up and see, like, this is when I can come in.
Jory.
Now, did the Jedi get lazy, or was there someone at the top that said, this is how we're going to approach everything. You know what I mean? Because, and I can't quote when, but there's certain things in the Jedi Temple that are off limits to anybody but a master. So, where the masters, which I don't know how many masters were always, in the Jedi Order at any certain time, but if you have, say, we'll just throw out a number, say 20 masters, that's very few people that know a broader history. And they're controlling how that history is, taught to the younglings, taught to, and you can kind of correlate this with how everything runs in our lives as well. History is always written by the winners, it's always, and so, was there a time where somebody said, we're not going to teach this to anybody, not even, not that we're going to teach, this practice, but we're just not going to tell you about it at all. So, is it that we became ignorant as the Jedi, or is it just that they decided not to give that information out to the public and out to, their Jedi Order?
That's a great point.
And you think of Revan. Revan sticks out in my mind, right? Really powerful, bro. dabbled in the dark. Well, I don't even want to say dabbled. Went full dark, had a moment, and said, you know what? Can't do that anymore. But Jedi didn't trust him at that point, right? He dabbled in it. Like, sorry, you put your toe in, you're gone. You're dead to us. You could still hang out here on Coruscant or wherever he was. It's cool. We're not gonna hold anything against you. You saved us, but we're not gonna trust you. You're not part of the Jedi Order anymore. You dabbled in it. This is uncharted territory. We can't deal with that, like you said, Jory. Yeah.
Now, did they actually do that as far as like completely, pushing him out, and then did they learn from that, because of Quinlan Vos, and I'm sure that there's been some since Quinlan Vos, that have had that transition, but did they take Quinlan Voss's situation? Did they learn from what they did with Revan, or did they, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of situations where, with Quinlan, and we'll get into this in a couple weeks, but, he went over and came back, and they didn't completely trust him by the end of it. And I don't know a ton of Quinlan Voss's full story, but, I don't know, did he ever get off of his, as far as his leash, I guess, from the Jedi, and things like that.
I feel like part of that, and we can talk about it more in the book club.
Can't wait.
But part of that may just come back to Obi-Wan, because we know that Obi-Wan kind of has a soft spot for Quinlan. He has a soft spot for Anakin, and he speaks for them and he advocates for them so dramatically, I guess.
A voice of reason. He didn't go that dark, Master Yoda. He didn't really go fully dark, did he? I mean, we actually sent him out on this mission, didn't we?
Yeah, Obi-Wan can say it was our fault, so how can you punish him?
That's what I'm saying. It's temptation. We all fall from time to time. Amen.
Amen.
Don't get me up on that pulpit, Holly. I want to start doing some preaching here about the Force. But
Step down.
Jory's so right. I mean, a lot of that knowledge is secluded. It's forbidden to go into those archives to learn this knowledge. And some of it, Rob, am I right in that? Through the years of conflict with the Sith and the Jedi, Force powers and teachings have been lost, like unintentionally, just from losing tons of Jedi and Sith and certain techniques and certain powers. They've been lost to just no one there to teach.
So at this point, I don't want to speed ahead, but when we're talking about, like, the minute Jory mentioned Quinlan Vos, again, it's what we're talking about, this back in this fourth. But there's a huge spoiler alert, and this is when I have to drop the bomb. When I speak of Abeloth, she is completely like a whole nother thing.
Yeah. She
was just straight up regular and wanted to be like the ones ultimately.
Yeah.
And she drank from, was it the well of knowledge? Let me think about things. Yes, it's the well of power and the pool of knowledge.
Yep.
And during that series, Viserys Kai's dad also drank from that, and he, or not him, but the other guy, he started becoming like delusional but more powerful. So at one point, Luke, Grandmaster Luke, who maybe should be able to cloak himself, makes a point that he can take him out with a rifle, and the guy literally connects with him. And that goes back to that other stuff, the dyad stuff. So what is dyad? Dyad is seriously like you can connect with somebody, but if you can see a Force ghost, that's a connection. Yeah. Is that dyad? Or I just, for me, when I seen Abeloth's power, it took Darth Krayt and Luke in the shadows. Spoilers.
Love the shadows.
And then you see it, but when Luke went to the shadows, like the whole pool, I'll just throw you all for a loop right there. If you read that Fate series, when he goes there, he sees Mara Jade. Yeah. When he goes there, he sees Anakin and Jason. He sees all these people, and Ben learns these attributes. So when you're talking about like what has forgotten, Ben Skywalker learned flow walking, which was, going back in the past as well. And Jaina also learned that too. So when you think about the immense power of the Force, that's what it leads me to is, what is that difference? And at the end, I won't say anything unless you Wikipedia that. When Luke and Ben go into their own journey, they're kind of looking for a certain dagger. Yeah. That's not been yet foretold, but I've always wanted to know about what happens with Ben and Vestara. And it comes back to the whole thing of being light, dark, the daughter, the son, the father, and it's written in what that power is and what the limits of it, who's good at this, because some people, as we know with Quinlan, he touches something, he can see the past. So could Cal. Cal actually could see the same thing too. So that's limited in the Jedi region. So it's almost like you have, going back to like your video game skills or whatever, you gain levels and you learn this, or you only can call or summon a monster, but you can use fire over here.
Yeah, it's like Holly said, it's I don't want to say it's like predestined, but it's something that amplifies. I mean, the Night Sisters had some of that too. Like the Ninth Sister, she was really great at connecting with people emotionally and could almost read their thoughts and tell how they were going to react to things and almost manipulate them. It's like maybe it's just amplifying things about themselves that really the Force amplifies it, and then it gives you powers that no one else really would. And it's specific, not just to you, but maybe others. But it's not like let me pick up chapter 13 of the Ancient Jedi text and let's learn how to read people's minds.
And now we know.
Chapter 13 of the Ancient Jedi text. But you're right. Yeah, Jory.
No, I was just going to tell you, Nettie had something he was going to say earlier, and I don't think he got it.
Nettie.
All right, so I think it was going back quite a ways, but when you were talking about that prophecy and how it was always like a standard of the Jedi, I think in the Revenge of the Sith novelization, I can't remember if it's Yoda or Mace, but there's like a conversation where one of them like says like, is it misread like that's in the movie? Yeah. And one of them says like, read from the Jedi perspective we have, or something like that, which I thought that was a really cool little addition.
Absolutely.
And then going back also to like that concept of restricted information and all that in the Jedi Temple. I know in like the Master and Apprentice book, they have that holocron with all the prophecies, and like I know like they keep it around obviously, but like I know every like master other than like Dooku and Qui-Gon are like, yeah, don't touch that. Like, you don't need to be looking at that. Yes. So that's kind of that same thing of like, that restricted information. I just thought those were two details to throw in there.
Is the Grand Inquisitor one that also goes to the Jedi Temple to try to get information? Who did that?
I think he did in the Vader comic line.
Yes,
because like Costa New breaks in and he's just like sitting there like reading all the things and like dissing Costa. Yeah,
things I do remember he couldn't get to as a Jedi, and he turns and then he goes back to seek that knowledge that he was restricted from learning. Freaking fantastic! But you're so right, Nettie. It's just everything is from the Jedi perspective, and that's Brent what we were talking about a lot of like when we talk about balance. So even in this High Republic, it's like we only know balance in the eyes of the Jedi, because to them, balance is complete rejection of darkness. That's balance. So when people say, well, we're bringing, Star Wars is now balancing the Force, it's like, so are you saying they're like equal light, equal dark? Like, no, they're saying like we reject darkness. That's balancing the Force. That's what people think Anakin Skywalker did. So anytime we talk about balance, it's like, what is it? If the Nihil are some different thing like the Night Sisters that don't associate with dark, is it just their intent that makes them good or bad? They follow. I mean, the Night Sisters were kind of evil. Maybe they weren't a neutral. They were a neutral party, but they're pretty dark and seeking power.
Little column B,
little magic, little witchcraft. But so it seems like balance is. It's always through the eyes of the Jedi, and maybe, like Nettie said, I would freaking love a perspective of the Sith during the High Republic. I think that would be fantastic. What I really enjoyed, we got this in kind of the Darth Plagueis novel, right? That like you see him planning, the manipulation of the Trade Federation and getting this thing ready to make profits and to kind of create a dynasty for himself. And I love that from his perspective. So maybe there's more going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of. And that the Sith maybe weren't laying as low as we expected during that time. But back to the timeline, Brent, unless you got something to say on that.
Well, I was going to say, just because Rob brought up the dyad, touch on a couple of things there since it's still fresh in the conversation. So according to Wikipedia, the Force dyad, the way they define it, is a pairing of two Force-sensitive individuals, making them one in the Force. The power of the dyad was as strong as life itself, and those who formed the dyad shared a connection across space and time. So that's kind of how it was defined there. And also, according to Wikipedia, that the dyad between Kylo and Rey was formed during Episode 7 when he probed her mind. So it wasn't something that occurred at birth.
Really?
But yeah, it was during that moment when he was probing her. That's when the dyad formed.
Phrasing.
And that connection was connected. Exactly.
Oh, I love So that's interesting, right? Because this isn't the first time. He probed Poe's mind, right? And we think Poe's got a little connection to the Force there, but like, are we gonna learn what that is? Like, is it just that they come from similar lineage and they're in each other's mind at that point? Like, he opened up this like connection, and now he can't turn it off because they're kind of lineage connected.
Right. Yeah. It was probably the power of their lineages which allowed them the dyad to form in the first place, where Poe being just maybe receptive to it but not being able to control it, wasn't allowed to make that full merge. And then it also said in there that during that mind probe, Rey actually assimilated a lot of the knowledge of the Force from Kylo Ren at the same time, which is why she's instantly able to take him in battle. Because and her Force powers exponentially grew at that point in time, because she's like, oh, there's all the knowledge, and I just learned how to do everything that's been kind of sitting there innately. Which I thought this was probably the coolest thing I found when I was doing all this stuff, was because I've always been interested in this dyad.
Next time somebody says Rey is a cheap character that doesn't have any dimension, and how can she use the Force, and how can she be this powerful, I'm gonna pull that out, and I'm gonna be like, well, sit down and listen.
Blame Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Blame Kylo Ren.
And ultimately, then you can blame Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mary Sue.
What?
Jory, we're gonna block you.
Don't be a dick.
That's right, Flying Castle.
I just come in and just say that makes total sense that she pulled that. So she's more like a sucker, like she's an amoeba or like a chameleon. During that time when he connected with her, she was able to just go.
Yeah.
But then she had other skills that he had not ever learned either. And when she did the Force lightning, that slapped him. I almost swore, but
you know what else is interesting is
sorry, Molly's sitting there.
Molly's not tuned in, right?
I bring the pain.
She's heard it.
I forgot you got headphones.
She knows kind of thing. But yeah, exactly. Rey. What is Rey like? What did Rey do for you?
Come on, Molly.
That electric out of here. She's shy as shit, but
that's okay.
Talk about Rey. What does Rey mean to you?
She's just my favorite character.
I think that's fair.
I love that.
She's so scared.
Well, just wait, because we're going to have Molly on at some point to really talk about Rey and flesh Rey out a little bit. And I'd love to just pick her brain a little bit. We'll get her a little more comfortable, right? We'll get her a little more comfortable with talking, and then she'll share with us hopefully one day.
Get a glass of grape juice to have with everybody, and
a little glass of grape juice. I like that.
That's right. But going back to the dyad and how Rey was able to kind of learn those Force skills when her and Kylo had that first connection, it almost makes me think that ability to kind of absorb those skills that somebody else is using is something that continuously happens once you have that dyad, because we see later in the Rise of Skywalker, you see in the beginning Rey heals that creature after they fall under the quicksand, and then she heals Kylo. And then later he reciprocates that. And everyone's like, that's truly not something that someone on the dark side would be able to do. And I understand that he's turned at that point, but it's not like you immediately would know how to do that. So it's almost like those abilities are transferable once one has learned how to do it.
Yeah, knowing that information now, parts of the and sometimes I hate that the books have to come in and explain some of these things. I would like to understand it. I mean, that I sound like I'm a hypocrite now because I also say that I love digging into these books and learn more about these scenes. But moments like that, it would have been kind of nice to even understand it a little more. Oh, you're absolutely right. That's how he healed her. Like, he didn't know how to heal before, but they have that connection there.
Mm-hmm.
And my powers are your powers, right?
Oh.
What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine. Like, we're hooked for life. That's like a forced marriage.
Dysfunctional family dynamic.
Exactly. Maybe a little inbreeding. I don't know.
The family forced upon us.
Yeah, you maybe don't want them as your family, but they're forced upon you.
They are.
And you're connected for eternity.
Ugh.
They're zombie.
So I don't know. I could say so much more. I mean, is this like, are we going to continue this forced conversation, or is there going to be a part 2 at some point?
It depends on how long you want to go today. But
I mean, we're in an hour 20 right now, and I could go all night, boys.
Phrasing.
That's what she said. That's what she hoped.
We could. Definitely could.
I mean, we can go from, because I'm loving that we're going through the timeline, and it's kind of pulling out conversations revolved around the Force, and like I now understand the Force better now about Star Wars after talking to you guys, having these moments, talking about things we want to see, understanding the dyad better. It's almost like a Force like course. I feel like this is part 1, like the Force 101. I don't know, Holly. I mean, is this a multi-episode series?
I mean, we haven't gotten a demonstration for how to lift rocks yet, so it's probably not Force 101.
Let us not forget that the Force is all about lifting rocks.
That's it.
It's a joke, but it is. That's what Star Wars is. It's lifting rocks.
Stand up.
What?
Stand up.
Stand up. Lift some rocks.
Now, tell us why you love Rey. Pastor, come on, you just said it.
Because like she's kind and nice, and then like she's powerful. And
Let's go. And
absolutely.
That's what I mean. There's not a lot of powerful people in the world that are also nice, and I think that's the message of Star Wars, right? Is that with great power comes also great responsibility, and we don't have enough of that in our world, Holly.
But you are obligated to be nice.
Absolutely. And it's nice that the younglings in the world are recognizing that in the story that's being told. And I have a lot of hope for the future then if she's recognizing that, and that those people will grow up and then expect that of themselves and others, and something through a silly story like Star Wars can teach you something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like real life when it's so relatable. If Molly can sit here and say that she loves Rey because Rey is powerful and also kind, I think that that's a great role model. And that's someone who I want to be.
Absolutely. And if she starts lifting rocks on camera, I mean, we got a whole nother load of problems.
Maybe she's part of a dyad in the Force.
Holy cow. But with who? That is the question that still remains.
Is that it? This is it. This is it. She's Aladdin. She's the diamond in the rough. She's the Palpatine that didn't go evil. She questioned it and made it all good in the end.
An anomaly.
I think Rob's a dark side user. I'm just going to come out and say it. I think he's got a little dark side in him, and his kin is rejecting it. I mean, this is Star Wars.
In real life.
This is Star Wars in real life. I got to say that.
I mean, we already saw she's got the green lightsaber. He's got the red lightsaber.
See, I freaking knew it. I knew it. See, now I'm thinking that we need to do a dark version of the Flying Casual T-shirt for the Sith users.
100%.
Because I feel like they tend to be on the light side. Dare I say that we tend to lean light. Mm-hmm. Is that fair, Holly?
You tend to lean light. Oh. I think that we could get some witchy Night Sister magic going on the shirts, and I would 100% wear it.
We could do that. Make it a little groovy.
Groovy.
That would be
some
cool.
green flames and stuff. I'm down. Let me get to work on it right now, guys. Let me get Photoshop going and get some fun stuff going here. No, I think we should table this for the next discussion. Are you guys down? I feel like we talked about so many things and it was so fantastic. And it's like, you can talk about the Force for hours. You can talk about the Force for days.
Also, we need to finish then in part 2.
Yeah, come on.
Going through Brent's timeline.
No, that's what we're going to pick up from the High Republic and then continue on with our history lesson. And we all can even do a little more research if we want. And then I want to ask, like, have there been any other dyads in the history of Star Wars?
Well,
I mean, Jace, the Solos, I'm thinking of one in Legends, but it's like, are there any other dyads? Is that something that we're going to learn in the future, Brent?
Well, actually, I mean, if you want, I can
Professor
just finish off the dyad stuff now, and then we can just pick up afterwards there. So the dyad, it was actually prophesized by the Sith Eternal, as is foretold of the coming of the dyad in the Force. This was thousands of years ago. This was actually prophesized before Bane set up the Rule of Two.
Okay.
And the forming a dyad is actually the sole purpose of the Rule of Two. They, like every master and apprentice combination, tried to form the dyad on the dark side. But it seems like, and I can't remember where I read it, but it seems like the dyad has to be formed by the dark and the light together to create that balance. You can't have two darks or two lights to do it.
Prophecy may be misread.
Yeah,
also,
so Plagueis attempted it with Sidious, and Sidious attempted it with Anakin, and both of them failed to form a dyad.
That's why he created life.
That's right.
That's why he created Anakin.
Well, that's why it didn't work. It has to be organic. It has to be an organic connection. It can't be
Ollie,
something
now
forced.
there is a child on this podcast. We cannot go into the specifics of procreation on this specific podcast. Maybe in another one.
She knows.
Okay,
she
that's
knows.
like
good.
That's
like
good.
she's all Star Wars. Yeah, she
good.
knows that, how that the way Palpatine was able to create Anakin, and then she also knows that Rey came from that other timeline as well too.
Good deal.
See,
Right.
even curiouser to me, it just
Is
seems
that a word?
it is now.
Did you just? I'm
No.
usually the one that makes crap up, but that was you.
It just
Wow.
seems to me so odd that the dyad would be formed between Rey and Kylo.
That's balance, baby.
But
That's
then
balance.
this may have nothing to do with it. It may have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But then if you look at lineage,
Come on.
if Rey truly, honestly is a Palpatine, and Palpatine wasn't lying about that,
Yeah.
she comes from that dark side lineage, and then
Yeah.
you have Ben, who comes from more of a light side lineage, and
Yeah.
it's just so weird how the wires get crossed.
You're right. They were born in. She wasn't born in darkness, right? That's her lineage,
Was
right?
she though? If she was hunted down as a child and they were looking for her, and I don't know.
You think she could be doing some dark stuff there on Jakku?
I don't think she was doing
I
anything
don't
dark
either.
on purpose.
I think she was pure of heart. I think she was pure of heart. But I like what you're saying though. That you're almost hardwired to be this thing, and you reject it. That's kind of the story of the Rise of Skywalker. The dyad rejecting your past. And
Maybe
connecting with
nothing
your
to do
future.
with that, but just an observation.
I don't know. I love it. I love it so much. Is there anything else about the dyad, Brent, we should know and study up on before our next council meeting?
Yep. So I'll leave it off with this one last little thing related to the dyad, and then you guys can kick this around for a little bit. So it relates to the Force Ghost. So you get into the Force Ghost things, and it's that forming a Force Ghost is strictly a light side ability.
Yep.
And it was only mastered very recently. So the first one to master it, or to learn of it, was Qui-Gon Jinn, but he died before he could master it. So can only come back as a disembodied voice and can't form the full spirit. The only ones that have mastered it and are able to come back as a Force Ghost have been Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Luke, and Leia. So those 5 people there. And we also noticed that when all 5 of those disappeared, or when they died, their body physically left the presence as well. And then they became the Force Ghost.
Great point.
Now, back to the dyad. So when Ben dies,
Mm-hmm.
after he saves Rey and brings her back to life, what happens to his body?
It disappears.
It disappears. But he does not form a Force Ghost because he didn't know and how to do it. So does his body merge with Rey because they were a dyad and connected?
Are they one at this point?
Right. Did he, when he disappeared, did he become one with Rey completely? And that's where Ben Solo now resides. Which makes her taking the Skywalker name even more appropriate.
Exactly. And that's, if there wasn't that dyad connection, I would say his mother went and got him. And maybe, you know, I don't know. She had the Force Ghost there, but like,
go ahead.
Maybe just didn't know how or whatever. But you're right. With it, there's that connection now. It feels like they are one, and it is fitting, like you said, that the Force Ghost, that she calls herself Skywalker, because she's kind of technically part Skywalker now. They're connected. Are you freaking kidding me? Brent, I think you just blew my mind. Nettie, is this a bunch of malarkey? I mean, or is this speaking to you, man? Are you having this moment that I'm having, that like the Rise of Skywalker makes a lot more sense now?
That's definitely speaking to me there. Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a really interesting idea and really cool thought process. And the other layer on that too is, I mean, since Rey died before that, but she didn't disappear.
Yeah.
What was going on with that? Like, did she go into Kylo? Then Kylo, Ben, I guess,
phrasing,
give it back.
Back and forth. I completely agree. No, that makes it extra complicated. She did not disappear. Yeah, is that just the Force at will then, saying it's not your time? Like, evil's gonna die. Ben's got to pay for his sins. Someone has to. If we're going back to that religion aspect, like Jory was saying, you got to pay for those sins, my friend. I mean, you murdered your father. You got to go. You're not going to be able to live out your life at this point. You got to go. Got to go. It's just, Jory, I mean, you like The Rise of Skywalker, and there's some plot holes for sure. But, I mean, we're getting this novelization. It's kind of layering out the dyad for us. I mean, are you buying it or are you selling it?
I'm buying it. And what Brent just read as far as, you know, that last piece with the dyad, that's really cool. It gave me goosebumps, actually.
Chills, bro.
And so, you know, then it kind of starts drawing into other things. Is, you know, if he did become one with her completely, does that mean that once she dies, you know, can she become a master of you know, becoming a Force ghost, and would that bring Ben back? You know, to where he could become a Force ghost himself? Would that take more mastery? You know, and I know you're kind of getting into like kind of levels at that point. But or once, you know, he's with her and, you know, she's able to come back as a Force ghost, is it just her? Or does she bring him along with? You know, and it just brings up a lot of different just more questions, you know, that you have about it, and it's pretty awesome.
It definitely does. Like, especially if we get any new material in the future from Disney about Rey. I mean, Rey's gonna be like an ultra complex new age of Jedi, more new age than even Luke Skywalker, and like the legacy of the Force and Fate of the Jedi, like different feel of the Jedi and what they're about. But like, Rey's got a little dark in her. I mean, we probably won't see that replicated ever again. So whoever she teaches isn't likely going to have the abilities that she has. But she's going to be a complex character. How is she going to teach this to people? I want to know about it. Now I know even more than I did before, and I want to see Rey. I want to see it play out a little more. Rob, I mean,
no, I don't. She's insane right now.
Let's go.
You guys popped her mind. Go ahead.
What are you thinking, Molly?
So when you brought up when Luke disappeared and stuff, when he wasn't taking the shots and he was just standing there from Kylo Ren, he was really taking those, but he was in a different world, and that was a fake him. And then but then the shots were turning from him, and then when he sacrificed his life for the rebels.
Yeah.
That being said, did Leia sacrifice herself to make the image of Han to make Kylo Ren turn?
Boy, that's a
hot topic.
It is. And I think a lot of people do think that. I think they think that, I mean, Ben says he's a memory, and I kind of, to me, if you have Leia going and I don't want to say that Leia is interrupting the moment that they're having. To me, that sounds terrible because she's his mother. She should be involved in this moment. It's like he killed his father. And the fact that he's grappling with that and he's speaking to a memory of his father, I like that they're having that moment. Because to me, the only way that Ben can be forgiven is if he has the forgiveness of his father. So to me, I don't necessarily want Leia to be involved at all. I know Han's not force sensitive, but I like that it's the father-son connection at that point. It's not has nothing to do with the force, right? It's a you're my kin, you're my son, and that's more powerful than the force. Because I love you no matter what. I know what you did, and I know you didn't mean what you did. You were lost, and we're here to come take you home now. To me, that's that familial story of Star Wars that I love so much, that's more powerful than the Force. Because to me, if Leia goes in there and says, I'm going to shoot this image of Han for you, it takes away from that moment of father and son that I love so much. It's so similar to Luke and Vader. It's bigger than the Force in that moment. It's forgiveness, it's compassion, it's love, it's unconditional love at that point. Yeah, Brent.
I was going to say, I think it's her slightly manipulating his memory. Like, he has the memory of him, and that's the honest part. But there's one thing that Han says during that exchange that could only have come from Leia, and that's when he says, "I know."
Yeah.
Because Kylo would not have heard him. That wouldn't have been something that came from him. But that was Leia, because he says, he can't say that I love you, but Han says, "I know," and she's the only one that would have known that exchange. I think she was there, like, guiding that memory.
And it's almost kind of like a wink, like, right, hey, mom's here. Like, that's what it is. Yeah, Jory.
And when Brent just said guiding that memory, I think that's really good. And because I was just going to say that I think even growing up that, he wouldn't have said it to Ben to, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't say I love you, and so he would have, even as a boy, Ben says, I love you, Dad, or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, we might have lost Jory. Jory
there
down.
There he goes.
Jory down.
You got tornadoes out there again?
Oh, God, I hope not. I hope he didn't just black out on his computer from dehydration.
While we're waiting for Jory to come back, I'll just kind of piggyback off you guys, because I think it's a little bit of both. And I think the reason why Ben says, or Kylo or Ben in that moment, I don't know who you want to call him right then, but I think the reason why he says you're a memory is because he's in denial, because he's terrified.
Yeah.
He had pushed everything that him and Han had gone through in that moment when he killed him.
Yeah.
He pushed down, and now seeing Han in front of him, he's forced to face it again, and he doesn't want to do that. And so by saying, like, you're a memory, it's saying you're not real, you're not here. I'm disassociating myself from what's happening right now because this is just all in my head.
Holly, it's as if it were, and I think I know what you're saying, and I think that could be why J.J. Abrams almost word for word replayed that moment there on the scaffolding or the walkway there on Starkiller Base, right? It's almost word for word. It's slightly different, but it's almost as if that's how it was supposed to go. And Ben suppressed that moment so much, and in his most vulnerable state, that memory reappears, and that's how it should have went. That's the forgiveness. I don't know if I have the strength to do it.
3 words.
Let's go.
Isn't it beautiful?
Oh my gosh. I'm on the verge of tears as we talk about it. It is one of my favorite moments in Star Wars, and I love that. To me, it was just a father-son moment, and to a lot of you guys, it's Leia's there in that moment too. It's almost like a and now that I think about it, like, if you bring Leia into the mix, it's almost like, Ben and Han didn't have the greatest relationship. I mean, we hear about it in Life Debt. We hear about Han being like, I'm not really cut out for this father thing. I don't know how to handle the kid. Like, not the best relationship. We obviously see that on Starkiller Base. Ben stabs his dad. But it's almost like Leia almost reaching out to even Han in his memory. And even Han, I don't want to say Han's in the afterlife, but it's like, he's not the touchy-feely guy. He probably isn't tapping into his emotions, but Leia going and saying, we need this moment. You have to say, this is where you save your son. And it's bringing up that memory of that moment. And maybe she allowed that to happen and bring that moment to Ben again and say, here's your opportunity for redemption that you didn't take before because you were lost. I just like, and these are the conversations, guys, that we need to be having all the time. It's like you think you've seen the movie 5 times, you own it on Blu-ray, cool, it's a beautiful scene, Michael, it's a father-son moment, but it's like it's bigger than that.
There's always something else.
It's bigger than that, and you guys just proved that. And Holly, you also just digging deep, and that's that emotional connection to Star Wars. The Force is fantastic. I love talking about the Force, but sometimes it's these moments that there could be some Force influence there, but it's that emotional connection, it's that familial connection that seems to overcome all. Jory, we lost you mid-thought, my friend. What were you going to come in hot with?
Honestly, at this point, I don't even remember.
Jory got sucked into the world between worlds. He made it out, though.
It was the same thing that happened the other time when Skype just decided to kick us all off. And so I thought maybe that was going on because I could hear you guys for, a good another 2 minutes or so. So, but no, I think it was all gone at this point.
And it's okay. There's going to be plenty of time to talk about it. I can't believe, guys, how much I learned tonight. I hope you guys learned something too. This has been one of the most educational experiences talking Star Wars as I've ever had. Holly, how about you?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Well, we have our in-house doctor here.
Seriously,
Brent,
thank goodness. Brent,
I didn't do that much school.
Hey.
Thank you, though.
I love the timeline that you came up with, and we're going to pick up where we left off. And in our next discussion, I think we pick up on this because, man, it brings up great moments, and we're going to continue to talk about the Force. And man, I'm going to try to come even more prepared than I was tonight. But sometimes it's just instinct, guys, and that's how I look at the Force sometimes. It's just an instinct and it's a feeling, and I go to it when I need it. And this is one of those moments, and I'm so happy that we had this conversation. And I hope you guys listening on the interwebs enjoyed this conversation. You just witnessed a real life moment of people learning from discussion, and I think that's something that we all need to do a little more of. We need to listen a little more, and you think Star Wars, just have a conversation with someone, and maybe if you listen a little more, you'll learn a little something, and that's what we did here tonight. So I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to continue with a part 2 discussion bouncing right off from the High Republic and the little that we know about it. Maybe we'll speculate a little more, but talk about what's a little more familiar to us in Star Wars, and then even maybe the future of the Force and what we expect from it. But this was a long one, phrasing, but one of the best conversations I think we've ever had. So I want to thank Brent. I want to thank Nettie. I want to thank Rob. I want to thank Molly too, bringing some sweaty knowledge. And I want to thank Jory as well. Holly, lovely as always. One of our best conversations, I think.
I agree. I think this was really great, and it was so much fun. And it was kind of nice to sit back and just listen for a little bit.
I love how prepared these guys are, and something as open-ended and general as the Force can instigate and create some of the best conversation and the best hangout that we've ever had. This is why we do this. We're learning from each other. And everyone is rocking sick Flying Casual shirts today. So, folks, if you have a chance and you're listening, go to YouTube. Go check this out on YouTube. I got a few handsome guys here. I don't know about Jory. Jory takes a lot of the limelight a lot of times. We got a bunch of handsome people, a lovely young Padawan there on camera. And if you want to look at this ugly mug, and I'm talking about Holly, go ahead and check out YouTube. And subscribe, like the video, and like all of our stuff if you can. And if you're listening on a podcasting platform like Apple Podcasts, go ahead and check us out there. If you can give us a 5-star review, we'd love that. Tell us what you like about it. If you have constructive feedback, don't just sit there and say we hate episode 2, but provide some constructive feedback.
Or just tell us you love us.
Tell us you love us.
We'll take that too.
We'll take that as well. But I hope you guys enjoy this in all aspects, and you can connect with each and every one of these guys and talk about Sweaty Star Wars every single day in our Flying Casual Facebook group. It's bumping. It's one of the coolest hangouts in the galaxy, and I'm not just biased. I honestly think it is. Some of the best discussions in there. And Holly, even you and I are doing a little gaming streaming lately, so be on the lookout for some of that on the YouTubes as well. A warning to anyone, not wanting to listen to explicit content. That's not where you should go.
Yeah, don't listen. Don't even watch it.
It's like gaming with a sailor, and Holly is the sailor. So if you're not looking for explicit content, I should say explicit language, and the content, don't come check out the YouTube's gaming streaming. But We are here each and every Monday with a new podcast for you guys, and like I said, you can join us in the Facebook group. You can go out and check us out on Patreon. Join these guys here in the Jedi Knight or Jedi Master class, and join these conversations. It gets deep and sweaty every month. Nettie, I got to come out and ask this. I mean, are we ready for a trivia trial or what?
Oh, we're definitely ready.
Let's go. We have got the promo materials ready. Wes and Nate, a TBD date, Holly, on the trial. But
that is to be determined.
To be determined, yes. For those of you who don't understand that, we are still waiting some scheduling. Our people are talking to their people talking to our people. We're, working out some scheduling things.
Yeah.
But fully expecting some sweaty trivia, Holly. I cannot wait.
I think you almost just said
Sweatrick. It's going to be sweaty. I'm sweating. There's going to be sweaty questions, but a really good time. I cannot wait to see those guys do some trivia. So expect that shortly. Holly, our book club, once again, another announcement.
Yes, that will be on Saturday the 8th,
So,
August 8th.
August 8th. You have a little bit of time if you haven't finished Dark Disciple yet. Get in there and be ready for that book club discussion. And book club discussions will be taking place the second Saturday now of every month, trying to plan things out a little ahead of time. And our Patreon casual council sessions will be the last Saturday of every month. So good content there for everyone. Yeah. Any closing remarks, Holly?
Those are all my closing remarks.
Perfect. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you join us next time. And yeah, I think that about does it. And so I will just end things here by saying, may the Force in all its ways be with you.